Hello, listeners. This is Mike, and I'm speaking to you post-podcast editing with some spoiler warnings. Derrick and I got so excited discussing Umbrella Academy and Lovecraft Country that we inadvertently spoil large parts of both shows. So if you want to avoid spoilers, you can skip from around the 9-minute mark through the 14-minute mark for Lovecraft Country Episode 1, and you can skip around the 16-minute mark through the 22-minute mark for Umbrella Academy Season 1. We also had some major audio issues in this episode, and the levels were way out of whack. I did the best I could to salvage the episode, but if it sounds off, I promise it was way worse before I spent hours fixing it, and I'm hoping we'll have it worked out by next week. I do appreciate you checking us out and sharing in our love of video games and our dumb conversations. On with the show.
Player 2 has entered the podcast.
Welcome back, people, to Player 2 Has Entered the Pod. I am your co-host, Michael Peterson, a.k.a. MC Paperstacks, and with me, as always, is my co-host with the co-most,
Derrick Murkison, a.k.a. the Merkman, baby.
Derrick, you are sounding smooth as butter today. What changed?
Well, I got a new mic.
What?
Yeah, it's a nice one, too, man. Just a quick story real quick. My wife, she's really into the podcast, and she was like, I want to see you do your best. I want it to be as good as possible. So she bought like $200 to $300 mic, and it did not work. So for weeks, I've been using the microphone that you let me borrow, and then she just randomly bought me another mic. I'm going to send this old one back, but this one works amazingly. And if you can tell by the quality of my voice, I'm loving it, and I hope you're loving it too.
Yeah, no, you sound great, and my favorite part was how when you called me, I can immediately hear you, and we didn't spend a long time trying to get reconnected.
Right.
What we did spend a long time is trying to redo our levels, which audio is a constant battle. It is the true final boss, and I'm sure anybody else that does podcasts or streaming can relate, definitely. So I'm kind of self-taught on all this stuff, and I'm doing the best I can. But if you have suggestions, comments, or feedback, you can reach out to us at mcpaperstacks@gmail.com. I need help. So yeah,
somebody help the man.
Help me. We got a great show for you guys this week. A lot of good stuff has happened this week, and interestingly enough, we started out our week kind of differently. I had mentioned on, I think the podcast last week, and then on streaming, I was taking sort of a social media break, which was low key for I'm going out of town on vacation. So after 2 weeks of heavy quarantining, and then, the previous months of, responsibly quarantining, I would say, within the reasons of our work constraints, we got a cabin, my family, your family, we got together, we hung out. May I say that the impression that you did to your wife earlier was actually pretty spot on.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Not that I haven't heard her talk before, but listening to you guys talk all weekend, I'm like, that's pretty accurate. It's pretty good. Yeah, my impression of my wife is always over the top and way overblown. It doesn't sound anything like her.
Well, my impression of your wife is over the top and overblown.
my wife can be over the top, but in a fun way. My favorite part about impersonating her is the more ridiculous I make it sound, the more upset she gets. She's like, I don't sound anything like that. And part of me is like, yeah, I agree with you. But the other part of me is like, yeah, but you don't you know that I agree with you.
Yeah, it's the same thing with Vicky.
Yeah. The
crazier I get, the madder she gets.
She's like, I don't sound like that.
Right. It's like, no.
I mean, no, but yeah. So, yeah, we got our kids together, little Nora and little Ben, and they were running around, wearing each other down. That was good times. Oh, my God,
yeah.
He's still talking about it. He had a really good time. He told me that he had one part of the trip he didn't like. He said that Nora took a piece off of the roof of his house that he built, and he was very upset about that. He was
I remember that.
He was sad.
Yeah, I remember that.
So we got a chance to play a bunch of games over the weekend, too, which was cool. I helped you finish Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3.
Yeah, that had been on my backlog for a few months.
Yeah, we'll get into that with what we're playing. But one thing we did do on the cabin trip that I wanted to talk about was catch up on a few shows that we've been talking about. So we had mentioned last week, Netflix just dropped an interesting-looking movie starring Jamie Foxx and Joseph Gordon-Levitt called Project Power. And,
yes, we did.
Yeah, so
it was a movie that was watched.
It is a movie. It's got actors and a script and a director. and a budget. And what'd you think?
It was not my cup. I went in expecting really good things because Jamie Foxx to me is a very talented actor,
Mm,
just all around entertainer.
mm,
And Joseph Gordon-Levitt, from what we've seen of him in like The Dark Knight or The Dark Knight Rises and other things, he's also very good. So I feel like the cast wasn't really given much to work with as far as the script and everything, and they just kind of had to go collect that check, which I'm not mad at them for at
I
all.
think that was the main issue, yeah. I was pretty harsh on it when I was watching it. I was like, this acting's bad. I stand by that the acting wasn't the greatest ever, but because I remember Vicky was getting upset. She was like, hey, Jamie Foxx is amazing. You shut your mouth.
Right.
And I think, like you said, they were working with the writing, which was really poor, and they were doing the best that they could. But the movie was really poorly directed. It was sequenced and paced weird. It's funny because both of us follow a particular movie critic. Like, I follow a few movie critics, but one of the movie critics that I like online is Double Toasted, formerly known as Spill.com. And Double Toasted, I thought that they would rip this movie apart, and I think they gave it a low matinee. They actually really enjoyed the acting and the characters, which I thought was interesting. It's one of the few times I've ever disagreed with them. It's hard for me to place it. I think it's just, it moves along at such a quick pace, which I think works to its benefit. But for some reason, I was just bored. I didn't really get a chance to get to know or have any stake in the characters.
Yeah.
And I felt like Jamie Foxx was set up as somebody kind of cold-hearted and cold-blooded because he would just kill a lot of people randomly.
Right.
But also, he was kind of also set up as kind of a good, like, they were too afraid to like really go there with him, which I think would have made the film more interesting. And then it ends up being like a buddy cop film when him and an actual New Orleans cop, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, like pair up, and Joseph is actually using the drug. So we mentioned kind of the premise last week in the synopsis, but essentially there is this drug that can give you superpowers for like 5 minutes.
Which is not enough time.
Yeah, and it's random, and it's kind of a little bit Cronenbergian, like body horror-esque. Like one guy will just burst into flames, and it looks like it has lasting effects after he finishes using the power. Some people will just straight up explode, but others actually, gain useful powers. And Joseph Gordon-Levitt, apparently it makes him like Luke Cage. Like he becomes bulletproof almost. But he'll show visible bruises afterwards from, maybe where he got shot. Like there's still lasting effects. Like I think pretty much the whole film he had like a bloodied eye from yeah.
And that's the part of the movie that I liked.
I did like that sequence.
Way the powers were showcased.
Yeah, I did like that sequence. Although there was another fight sequence with Jamie Foxx in a club, like an underground club, where they were showcasing the drug to potential buyers, like as a military application. And it was from the inside of like this tank, and you could barely see anything because the tank was really cold. And I think even Double Toe, like that was cool. That was not cool. You couldn't.
Yeah, it wasn't cool at all.
And the fight scenes themselves were cut really close and quick. Like you would cut with somebody you haven't had time to train, or like with an older actor. And that didn't make any sense because I feel like Jamie Foxx and Joseph Gordon-Levitt, they both have like the physicality to pull off action scenes. So I don't know if this movie was rushed or what was going on. So yeah, I mean, I think if the premise interests you at all, definitely check it out. But I would lower expectations. I think it's not going to be, like you said, everybody's cup. It certainly wasn't ours.
Right.
And it really just came down to how it was presented. I think it's an interesting idea. I think it was sloppily executed. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. I'm just gonna say too many main characters that don't get enough to do, and by the time the movie ends, it's like, okay, who are these people really?
Yeah, like yeah. When stuff went down and people were about to die, I was just like, I don't care. I just don't care. So that's not really good when you can't endear yourself to the characters or like apply yourself to the plot. So yeah. Let's see. We watched a few other things for the first time. Lovecraft Country debuted on Sunday on HBO. We got a chance to check that out together. Kristen, my wife, she dug it. She's interested in check. She doesn't like it. Got a little gory because it's Lovecraft monsters and they attack and things get messy. She's not into that, but she'll overlook a bit of gore if there's intrigue in the story, and she kind of liked the mystery surrounding all of it. What would you think?
I really enjoyed it. The one thing I will say, and Vicky will probably say the same thing, there was so much racism, and I get it. It's set in the 60s, I think.
No, it's even older than that. It's like in the I think it's in the 20s or the 40s.
It's in the 20s or the 40s. Good God.
Yeah. No, you're
it was like.
This was in the 60s. We had civil rights and fighting. And there was
that's
like working with police. But this is back when if you go to a town, they can kill you, and there's just nothing that can be done.
Yeah, like there was a lot of stuff I hadn't even heard of before. Like they brought up the concept of sundown county.
Yeah,
and I had never heard of that. And apparently, if you were black and you get caught in the town after sundown, then they would the cops or whoever white would just kill you.
They lynch you, yeah.
Yeah, they lynch you. And I was like, God damn, this is ugh.
Well, to pull back on the plot, so you have a man who just got back from the war. I'm assuming World War One, perhaps,
Maybe.
or World War Two. I can't remember which one, but he did some fighting. And he's a bit of a bookworm. Like, he really likes adventure serials. There's a scene where he's telling a woman about a book he's reading about a Confederate soldier who finds a cave and ends up going off to Mars. It's like a real book, but I can't remember the title. And she's like, "You reading a book about a Confederate soldier?" And he's like, "Well, I'm taking what I can get. You know, ain't nobody writing stories about us." He gets a letter from his estranged father that he has some kind of inheritance or something, and his father goes missing. And it happens to be in Lovecraft Country, is what they call it. Was it somewhere in the South? I can't remember exactly where.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
But he goes to see his uncle, who lives in Chicago, and his uncle runs a business for safe traveling for people of color. So he'll actually travel around the country and kind of talk about hot spots in the South that you want to avoid, you know, dangerous sundown towns, as it were, and safe places where you can go to eat and where you can go to stay and not be accosted. So he does dangerous work, but he does it for a very good cause. And one of the things I did like about the show was him, his wife, his kids, the main character, some other people that come in. Like, all of them seem like well-rounded, like they live their lives, and racism was a part of their lives, but it didn't define them. You know, they still had parties, they still sung, they had relationships, they had all the stuff. And I agree with you. I'm tired of seeing black people get beat down. And I'm tired of that being like the main focus, especially when you go back in time. But unfortunately, if you want to portray something realistically, you can't ignore it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They certainly couldn't.
Yeah, the good thing for this show, towards the end, they kind of got off of how long was the show? An hour?
Yeah.
The first 45 minutes of the show is just racism. And then finally, that last 15 minutes, we get what we came here for. And what I did not know if we were going to get it or not was the monsters.
Yeah, I think it was like the middle half for me, because the beginning was like his cool dream sequence and then him traveling. There's a little bit of racism with the fact that once the bus broke down that he was traveling on, he had to walk because the truck that came up to pull up to help people didn't help them. Right. And then, but he's in Chicago and everything's fine. And they're catching up with the family. They're getting their trip together and getting ready. And then that middle part where they start traveling, then they have, you know, trouble in that diner, and then they have trouble with the cops. And then, like you said, then the monsters show up. Then you have this big chase sequence, like in the woods. It was amazing.
Yeah, it was really good.
Now all of a sudden the racist cops and our main characters are like working together to try to survive the night, you know, and then eventually they get saved. And they go to this mansion where they see these kind of weird Hitler-Aryan people, like with blonde hair and blue eyes, like, "Hello, we've been expecting you." And I'm like, what's happening now?
Oh no, they're in trouble.
Are they in trouble? Are they? Yeah, they probably are. I don't know what's going on. But one of the people that stayed there was somebody that saved them from being chased down by an angry white mob. Like, they stopped them. And what's weird is it seemed almost supernatural, because the car kind of got in the middle of their chase and then it stopped, and then the car that was chasing them didn't really hit the car, but like stopped short of it and flipped, right? And all them dudes, like, they got wrecked. There's a guy standing on the back of the truck bed. He's dead for sure. I think all of them were dead. And a woman stepped out, and she happened to be one of the blonde-haired, blue-eyed looking people that stay at that mansion that they found later on. So yeah, I'm interested. I'm hooked. I want to see what happens next. I think I talked about it last week. I'm into, you know, Lovecraftian type themes, and I think it's cool that they're adding this twist to it, where the main characters and the people that are of focus and they're having the adventure in his story, or in a story inspired by his themes, are people of color, because he was notoriously racist. And it's one of those instances whether or not you can separate the art from the artist. I actually watched a documentary about his life. He kind of wasn't really racist at first, and then he leaned into it because of a relationship he got into, and then he kind of leaned back out of it towards the end of his life. He was a product of his time, and I'm not going to excuse his racism at all. But I like what they're doing with this story, and I like a lot of the themes that he explored and introduced to the world kind of being expounded upon in different media, including the show. So I'm extremely interested to see what happens next.
Yep, I'm into it.
Cool. Kind of skipping past the cabin trip, because I don't know, I think you guys watched this later in the week. I know that I think during the trip, my wife and I finished the first season of Umbrella Academy. So I wanted to talk about that, because you had reached out and let me know that you had finished the first season. So what do you think?
just to put it bluntly, I think it's a garbage show.
Okay.
Like there are things about it that I like. Like for instance, Klaus. I love his character. I love Ben. I love his powers
Hmm.
and him trying to figure out how to, come get control of him.
Yeah, and for those who don't
But
know, Klaus is the one that can speak to the dead. And that seemed to be the only thing that he could do, but he can only do it sober. But because he's so freaked out about speaking to the dead, he's always high.
right, yeah, and there are a lot of plot lines that just don't need to be in the show.
Hmm.
For instance, oh, what are their names?
Allison
The
and
time traveling assassin,
number five.
Hazel. No,
Oh,
Hazel and
Hazel and Cha Cha.
Cha
They
Cha.
work for the commission. You're
Yeah,
right.
yes. Oh my God, their whole plot line was pointless.
Really?
Especially once you watch the first episode of season two, it really makes that whole thing pointless. Like I did not care about those two characters at all, and we spent such a gross amount of time with them.
Interesting. I feel like they were integral to the plot because the whole idea of the first season is Five has time travel power. Well, actually, he can warp from place to place, right? He's kind of like
Right.
almost like Nightcrawler. But
Mhm.
he through his training early on, he realizes he can warp ahead in time. And Reginald, which is like the leader of the Umbrella Academy, all their quote unquote adoptive father, is like, "You're not
Mhm.
ready. Don't do that." And he's like, "Whatever, I'll do what I want." He does shoot forward in time, but he keeps shooting forward about 17 years. He shoots forward enough to where he gets to an apocalypse and he finds the mansion in shambles and everybody's dead. And he's like, "Oh shit."
Mhm.
And he can't get back. And he spends most of his life in that apocalypse until he's picked up by a strange lady who works for quote unquote the commission, which
Mhm.
is a nebulous group of, for lack of a better term, time lords. Like they have
That's
this Wayne
exactly
Fifty
what they
style
are.
office, right? And they're like, "We have case files, and we protect the timeline." So they
And we
refer
use
to
typewriters.
they refer to the timeline as the way things are supposed to happen. So everything that's happened in our history, the Hindenburg blowing up, Hitler doing what he did and then killing himself, like all this stuff is supposed to
Kennedy.
happen, right? Kennedy
Yeah.
being assassinated, and that includes the apocalypse. It's supposed to happen, and Five is like, "F that noise."
Right.
So he goes rogue and finally finds a way back to try to warn his family and stop it. And so Hazel and Cha Cha are sent back to assassinate him. What's funny is that's what he used to do for the commission. When he was hired, he was an assassin, and they would kill anybody. Didn't matter if there was a man, woman, or child, if they were innocent or criminal. If they were determined by a case worker who, was assigned a certain point in time, a pivotal point in time, if they were determined by that caseworker to have affected the timeline, they got to go.
Right.
So Hazel and Cha Cha are relentlessly hunting down Five to stop him from stopping the apocalypse. That's why I feel like they're integral, because what else would the
Yeah.
commission do if they knew he was trying to stop it? You know what I
And
mean?
by the way, there are huge spoilers for Umbrella Academy season one if you have not watched it, obviously.
Yeah, I might maybe put in a spoiler warning at the.
Yeah.
I might insert a spoiler warning at the beginning and then kind of give people a point that they can drop back in. You're right. We're really spoiling the crap out of the show.
Yeah. Let's
But
see.
yeah, I mean, I guess I get where you're coming from. If you're not interested in the certain characters, and they keep popping up, that's going to dampen the show for you. Was there anything about the show that you did like aside from Klaus and Ben?
Jesus. I don't really think so. Every time they had a fight scene, there was some weird pop song playing, like
Mm-hmm.
every single fight scene.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this is not fun. This is not Guardians of the Galaxy,
Mm-hmm.
who do it a lot better, but it's not fun. Ellen Page, again, is bled.
Mm-hmm.
Like, ugh. I don't know what else to, I don't really don't know what else to say about it. There's just so much. Number one, finding out why he went to the moon
Mm-hmm.
is literally just for no reason.
Yeah, just
And
to get rid of him.
yeah, their dad was an asshole. I'll
He
say
was.
that.
He was.
But yeah, and I kind of could guess where the story was going,
Mm-hmm.
at least after like episode 5 or so.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, okay, Ellen Page is obviously has powers because there's no way she was born on this day, the same day as the others, and doesn't have powers. And I was expecting to see more kids because I forget how many kids he said was born on that day, but
Yeah, like
he was
40,
only able
40?
to get, he was only able to get
Seven of them.
7 of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought for sure that we would run into some of them now.
I thought Leonard Peabody would have been one of the kids, but it turns out he was
Right.
just abused and he wanted to be in the academy and he was turned down and it was revenge. It was kind of petty, but
Yeah, and then he was just well, let's be real. Their dad really let him have it
Oh yeah,
for
he
no
did.
reason. He
He
was
was
just being
like, "You
super
suck. You'll
extra.
always suck. You'll never do
Right.
anything but suck. You're a loser. Everybody out here in this crowd knows you're a loser. Fuck you. Kill yourself."
Oh yeah, and
And
that's another thing. Like not everyone in the crowd is not gonna start laughing at a little boy because some old man just told him to fuck off, basically. Like that's
uh,
what happened.
I don't know. Have you seen the internet?
No, in real life though,
Yeah, it did feel a little bit off. Like, how did no one else discover, like,
yeah,
in
it's
the
like
history of their fandom, what a bastard Reginald was?
right. It's like black people, white people, Asian people, all just laughing at this kid.
Yeah, like, ha ha. I mean, they all didn't know what we knew, which was that his mother died during childbirth, and his dad beat him mercilessly for it, and like was a drunk.
Yeah, and his dad was like hitting him for no reason. He was like, "What's that on your face?" And then just slaps the shit out of him. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, okay, well,
Yeah,
domestic abuse at its finest.
yeah, pretty much, man.
But yeah, I'm gonna give Umbrella Academy season one probably a 4.
4 out of 10, 4 out of 5.
Yeah, 10. You knew what it was.
Yeah, I know, I know. I enjoy it, but I agree that sometimes I struggle with identifying with the characters, although that's not always a need. I think there are some characters I like, and there are some characters I'm ambivalent about, and there's some characters I actively hate. I do like Klaus, and I like
Hmm.
Ben. Ben is, of course, they never really explain how he died, but he's one of the kids in the academy who died as a young man and now follows Klaus around because that's his brother, and Klaus
Right.
has that power. And I kind of like Five. He's quirky and he's a bit of a standoffish jerk, but I mean, he was alone for 45 years in the apocalypse, so I can excuse that. And you can kind
Right.
of tell he keeps trying to do what's right.
Hmm.
I like Allison, but her whole issue with the rumor thing and her kid and custody, I don't understand. I feel like her power could solve more problems than it causes if she would
Right.
just see it through to the end. She's always half-assing her power.
Well, yeah, and
She's
me and Vicky were talking about the other day. I was like, hell, if it was time for Nora to go to bed and she wasn't trying to go to bed, I'd be like, well, I heard a rumor that
yeah,
your ass was tired,
yeah. I
and I wouldn't feel bad about it.
Yeah, it's funny that was your takeaway. My wife and I had talked about it too, and we were just like, whatever, we'll figure out a way to get her to go to bed. We don't necessarily need to use the power because we thought about like it affecting her free will, and then what a
Mhm.
slippery slope that is. But
Yeah,
we didn't think that she deserved to lose custody over her daughter over it.
right. And there's
And
a
you
oh,
and
go
I
ahead.
have different experiences when it comes to putting our kid to bed. So I don't
Oh
judge any
yeah,
parent that's like, I'm going to use that power because our kid has been going to bed since he was 3 months old. He's cool.
yeah.
He's very rare in that respect. He actually likes sleep. But
Hmm.
if there was a night where I'm just really struggling and he won't go to bed, then But once you open that door, how many of your kids' decisions then become their own? How
Right.
often do you do that? And then does that impede their growth to be independent and make their own decisions and fight for themselves? And
Yeah, it depends on how the power works. Because if the power just makes them do it and they have no recollection of doing it, then okay, maybe we shouldn't use it. But if it's literally like helps, like say, oh, I heard a rumor you want to share your
mm-hmm,
toys with your friends,
mm-hmm.
then maybe that would help her subconsciously start to want to share and be nice. You know what I mean? Just stuff like that. But if it's just like get out of jail free card for getting your kid to stop acting up, then in that case, it's not. I don't think that I would use it like that.
Mm. Yeah, it is. It's something to talk about. It's definitely an interesting point of the show. But there are many times where she could have used her powers, and it could have worked out pretty well for the whole team.
Hmm.
And it just didn't really occur to her for some reason. Like Cha Cha shows up, starts kicking her ass, and she starts fighting her like with her fists. And I'm like, didn't you hear a rumor that Cha Cha wanted to go home and not kill you?
Right.
Like there's so many problems I feel like that could have been solved. Like she was OP, and then the way you pulled her back was just to get her to forget about using her power, which is stupid.
Yeah. And
So
we'll talk about this later when we finish season 2. But the way that they showed how their powers evolve, especially Allison's, it's pretty dope.
no, I was really into it. I actually like Klaus's even more, the way his powers
Oh
evolve.
yeah.
Or really Ellen Page, like number 7, she once like things were unlocked and she figured out how to do things, like she kicked a lot of ass.
Yeah, it's pretty much
I
unstoppable.
mean, she shot the moon, yo.
Right.
I only shot the moon once, the first time I played Hearts. I was very proud of myself. I don't know if I can do it again.
All right.
Well, anyways, I
You were on
think,
that for a while.
yeah, well, Umbrella Academy, there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
So, some interesting news. There is a fellow podcast out there. It's kind of young. I think they're on their 25th episode most recently, if I recall. It's called Best Movie Ever Podcast. Have you heard of them?
Isn't it best film ever?
You know what? You're right. It's Best Film Ever. So you have heard of them.
Yeah.
So Best Film Ever is a group. I think the main guy that hosts it is from Canada, and he has guests on, and he'll constantly talk about, like, the most recent episode was Speed, and he was talking about what 50 miles an hour is in kilometers, and like, okay, so the roads in Canada would be called this, and over in Britain they'd be called this, and in America or States. So he's got kind of an international audience, it sounds like, or at least international hosts. And I kind of dig it. Their whole format is they will talk about what movie they're going to watch, and then they go off and watch the movie, presumably together if they're local, but if not, they'll just go off and watch the movie, and then they come back and they talk about the movie. They'll run through the whole thing, but they also talk about the history, how it got made. Yeah, like I learned a whole lot about Speed, like who originally was supposed to play the part of Keanu Reeves, and how similar it was to Die Hard, and how they were trying to push it out from Die Hard, that type of thing.
Is that why you asked me to find it for you?
Yeah. I was
Okay.
like, hey, I haven't seen Speed in a while, and it was a pretty good movie. Yeah, so I reached out to my friend who does thrifting, and I was like, hey, man, listen up. Here's the thing. Here's the deal. Because I went on Vudu first to see if I could get it digitally. Both Speed and Point Break are like $15, and I'm like, that's too much.
Wow. Yeah.
But I have a friend who goes out there and gets them deals, so I wonder if I can get it for cheaper. How much did you get Speed for?
Oh, I didn't get Speed. I got Point Break.
Oh, yeah. How much did you get Point Break for?
Yeah, like $3.
Yes! Okay, so now I can watch that. And it's one of those movies that I saw and I really liked, but I never got around to showing Kristen. Because, when we met, she hadn't seen any movies.
Right.
So I think I want to get that and watch that together. I think it'd be a fun action flick for us to check out. It's a really decent movie. Have you seen it?
Point Break?
Yeah.
I actually don't think I have.
Have you ever pointed your gun in the air and fired off and went, ah?
I know, I've seen that. I've seen that part.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Well, now you'll understand why he did it.
Right.
It was because of the love, the bro love.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that bro love, that romance between Keanu Reeves and Patrick Swayze. I can't deny it, nor can
Mr. Swayze.
I completely understand it. If you want to look them up, I know they're on Spotify, but if you go to Twitter at Best Film Ever Pod, they have a Twitter channel there that you can check them out on. They're really responsive to fans. They actually shouted me out for reaching out to them about their episode on The Crow, which I really like. That's a good movie. It's very 90s. It's a revenge flick. You've seen The Crow, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they did a really good job on that, I think, and I had a lot of fun with it. And I'm hoping maybe at some point, if they do a video game movie, we can weigh in, that type of thing. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, if you're interested in listening to a decent podcast about movies, that's something I'd recommend at Best Film Ever Pod. Let's see. What else did I do this week? Oh, you know what? I broke down and I bought Fight Crab. Fight the Crab.
Fight the Crab.
They've been advertising selling it on Play Asia for the longest, like a physical version. So it's got an English version on that physical, that's sold over in Japan. So I bought it, paid $7 in shipping, and it is on its way.
All right.
Pretty soon I will engage in the fights between the crabs with the swords and the guns and the vehicles and the lightsabers and the such. So,
That's going to be wild.
Yeah, it is going to be wild. So let's get into some of those games we were playing during the cabin trip. We mentioned Marvel Ultimate Alliance. You were 2 chapters away from finishing the game. Where did we start at? I think it was Wakanda.
No, it was right before Wakanda.
Inhumans. We were on the moon.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's right. We had to beat the final boss of the Inhumans and kind of went through. And I remember oh, you got the free DLC. We should go get Colossus and Cyclops, and we should add them to our team because they're amazing. And then we checked out Black Panther. Storm ended up being your favorite character, right?
Oh yeah, I love Storm.
She's good. She's definitely in the A
She can
tier.
freeze enemies and shoot lightning and all that good stuff.
And she has one of the better synergistic abilities. So Storm can throw out a tornado that you can hold down and then control and move across the battlefield. And there are so many moves that other characters can do, including many of the X-Men like Cyclops and Wolverine, that will synergize with that tornado. So, yeah, I agree. Storm is one of my favorite characters, and she usually goes into a couple of my main team setups. I think I told you over the break, I have this team setup called Double Date. And, And the team of 4 is Storm and Black Panther, and then Phoenix and Cyclops. It's a pretty good team.
Sometimes interchanged with Wolverine.
Yeah. Sometimes you want to switch, if you want a full X-Men team. I feel like Black Panther is better.
No, I mean switching Cyclops for Wolverine.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. because there was that whole love triangle thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So what'd you think about the game overall?
I think just like you had said, it's a junk food game.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice and sweet for a short period of time. I just wanted to get it off my backlog. My backlog's so big, but backlog's so big. Anyway.
Backlog's so big, girl.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a good time playing it though. It's much more enjoyable with two players. Yeah, the story was just obviously it's not S-class
It's bad.
story
You can
material. Yeah, it's a bad story, and I can see where it was going from a mile away, and I just had to look past that and enjoy it. So I did. I had fun. So
yeah, the strength in that game is finding a good team and kind of really getting into the strategy of playing as certain characters and how you can dominate. And I did enjoy playing co-op more than single player, and I think it's a little bit easier to play as co-op, which is cool. Because then you have a friend you're working with. So if you have people to play with, definitely choose that over. But yeah, it's grindy. The music is really bad. The dialogue is even worse. There's a lot of components of that game that kind of hold it back from being great, but there's enough there to get you involved. Like I've probably poured
way too much time.
At least 300 hours into that game. I mean, you saw, I booted up my files so you could see, like, I have a lot of characters at level 300 because that's, like, the most recent level cap, and, like, all the costumes are unlocked. Like, I spent a lot of time grinding on that game. It's one of those games where I would sit back and listen to a good podcast, like, Player 2 has entered the pod, and, and then just kind of mindlessly grind away, that type of thing, So, yeah. Well, I'm glad we got to finish that, and then I busted out my fight stick that I had bought. So there is, I see it on Facebook all the time under today's trends with Z's, which is weird. But there's a website that does one of those kind of like arcade stick emulators, and there's a lot of them that do them. Some of them are imitators and cheap. Some of them are okay. I think this one's middle of the road. Like I definitely don't regret my purchase. Home Retro Arcade. It's home-retro-arcade.com. It is a 2-player stick fight pad that has an emulator inside, and it's got MAME, so you got all your classic beat 'em ups and fighting games. It also has, like, default, it has emulators for Dreamcast, Game Boy Advance, PSP, N64, although the games don't run well, but did you expect them to? The emulators for N64 is bad.
Yeah.
And a few others. And it's actually got online support, so you can download additional games. And of course, if you have your own ROMs, there's instructions on how to get the ROMs on there. I haven't tried it yet, but eventually I probably will. It works really well, and it gave me the opportunity to play a lot of awesome beat 'em ups that I normally would never have the chance to, like Alien vs. Predator. And you and I checked out a particular beat 'em up.
And Dinosaurs.
Cadillacs and Dinosaurs. What did you think about Cadillacs and Dinosaurs?
Yeah, it was pretty fun. That's an apt description of what I would call my time with the game. It was just, I was waiting for the Cadillacs to come in, and then when it finally came in, I was like, yes, Cadillacs.
Yes.
Yeah, like playing through it, you get to pick 2 characters. It's like basically Streets of Rage. If any of you have ever played that.
It was like 4 playable characters, weren't there? And they all had like advantages. One was good at items. One had like a flying kick that would go across the screen. One was like really strong. One I think had good grappling moves. I can't remember exactly.
I think so. I think it was just power, but yeah, it's real funny because when you're going through the levels, you'll see the bad guys like hurting dinosaurs, and you're like, "Hey, get off those dinosaurs!
Leave those dinosaurs alone." Yeah,
they're
it's almost like they were corrupting
too.
them. Like they were peaceful otherwise, but then when the bad guys got to them, they got enraged, and then you had to fight them to calm them down. We never really killed or defeated dinosaurs. We just calmed them down, and then they ran off.
Right. So I'd have to read a synopsis of what the game is actually supposed to be about, because that just seemed like a bunch of nonsense.
I was literally going to say the same thing. Like, watching it is just nonsensical. It's silly beat 'em up nonsense, but it was executed well. There's a lot of cool items and weapons and stuff that you could pick up, and the special moves. I mean, it had all the tropes.
Yeah.
I'd have to say, of all the beat 'em ups I've tried on that emulator so far, like Cadillacs and Dinosaurs and The Punisher and Battle Circuit, I think Alien vs. Predator is my favorite. We didn't get a chance to check that out, but that's something I wouldn't recommend people seek out if they have a chance, because it is a really solid beat 'em up, and it's long. I also played Knights of Valor. We had talked about that. That's up on my YouTube channel, because I think it aged out of stream by now. It only stays on Twitch for like 2 weeks, but that's the one based on the Romance of the Three Kingdoms. That one's really involved too, and kind of hard to figure out. But if you can figure out the special moves, because there's a lot of them, it ends up being really fun and strategic. So, yeah. So, what do you think about the fight stick itself? I know you were trying out some of the fighting games on there.
Yeah, it's pretty dope, man. The funny thing about it is, I believe you said the titles of the games are translated from Chinese or something.
Some of them are, yeah.
Some of them are, yeah. So some of them just had really crazy names. I can't remember which one it was, but it was like a Samurai Showdown or something, and it just had a
It's like
ridiculous
Sword
name.
Guy Fight Man.
Yeah, Sword Cat Fight.
Yeah, that was a
That
good
was
laugh just going through the titles.
right. But yeah, it had like Power Stone on there
Mm.
and just a bunch. There was
I
Ninja Turtles
downloaded
on there.
Crazy Taxi. Ninja Turtles are definitely on there.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, yeah. It's definitely worth the investment. How much was it?
I think at the time I got it, it was on sale for a little over $200.
Okay,
Maybe see how much they're selling it for now, actually, because it's one of those things where they're like, it's on sale, and I'm like, is it, or is that just the price that you always charge and you say it's on sale?
you're
Yeah,
right.
like right now there's a price that says 485 and it's crossed out and it says 243.50 on sale. I'm pretty sure
Hmm.
that's just the price. You
Right.
can get different faceplates for it, which is kind of cool. You can get a Street Fighter 5 faceplate. You can get Ninja Turtles. You can get Spider-Man like comic panels. You can get Back to the Future. Just some random stuff. I ended up getting one with you get Mortal Kombat. I can get one with X-Men on it. So I had like
Yeah.
all the classic X-Men, which I thought was pretty cool looking. And of
Yeah.
course, you can get the X-Men arcade game. I played that on there too, and Simpsons, like a lot of the older ones that you remember. So,
Hmm.
and again, there's a lot of imitators out there. I would say if you're going to go out in that community and buy one, do a lot of research, check for legitimacy, check if they're on Facebook, check the comments, see if anybody got them, how many people actually did, if those accounts they're saying they got them are legit, because that's a bit of a minefield. I've been burnt. I bought an arcade cabinet and got really bad vibes, and the store like disappeared, shut down. It went through Shopify, a lot of those
Hmm.
temporary stores that go through Shopify, and luckily I was able to reach out to Facebook and get my money back. But I was like, the price is a little too good to be true, and it turns out it was. They're taking advantage. And the thing is, Facebook don't care. They'll put up any old scammy ad in front
Oh
of you.
yeah.
And the thing is, now that I've actually interacted with that ad, they come up all the time. So I have to be extra
Right.
careful not to get taken in by that.
Or if you talk about it outside of Facebook and your phone happens to hear
Oh yeah,
it.
my phone's listening to everything we say right now. It's going to be nothing
Yeah.
but Umbrella Academy and
Watch.
Fight Night.
I'm gonna say Reese's Cup. I bet you're gonna see a Reese's Cup commercial.
Yeah, most likely. They're like, oh, it turns out you enjoy Reese's cups. I
Yeah.
remember one day. This is the most stark example. One day, I was briefly speaking with my wife about wanting to learn Japanese because I want to go to Japan someday. And the very
Mm.
next day, I was scrolling my timeline on Facebook, and it was like, learn Japanese, and I was like, you.
Motherfuckers.
Here's the thing. I did it to myself. For those who don't know, every time you download an app or we're gonna find out, which Disney princess are you, or any like even DoorDash, like all kinds of apps. All of these apps that you're like, I wonder why they're free. So much work is put into them. Because in the agreement, when you agree to the terms, you're agreeing for them to collect big data. And one of the ways they collect big data on you is they use your phone's microphone as a listening device to pick up keywords. Facebook does this a lot. And then Facebook will then sell that data to people out there that want it so they can hyper focus on their advertising on people that they would be likely to buy. And it works. Like I've bought plenty of things I saw on Facebook because I was like, that looks dope. And I know that they know me because they're listening to me. And I know that I probably agree to that somewhere along the line. So if you really don't like being focused on advertising and all that stuff, you're going to have to like delete and uninstall or force stop all of those apps on your phone because otherwise they're listening to you right now whether you like it or not. It's just the way
Big
it is.
Brother is listening.
Yeah, it's big data and it's big business. So
Hmm.
well, other things we've been playing this week. So Ghost of Tsushima continues to be a mainstay. I got a chance to watch you play that for a bit while we were at the cabin. That was cool.
Yeah, it's funny because I hadn't played in a couple days, and you were just watching me suck for a little bit.
Yeah, it's fine, dude. I mean, you should watch me play on Insanity. It is a nightmare. We'll talk about it here in a sec, but I was really interested in watching you play duels because even on medium they can be tough, and I think you did pretty well actually. I think you only got
Yeah.
defeated like once or twice, but you were back in it.
Hmm.
So yeah, no judgments. Trust me.
Yeah.
It's not like I ever haven't had a sloppy or even on medium a sloppy or kind of like a rusty play session. So I'm on Act 3, and this isn't really a spoiler, but as you move into the game, of course, the enemies get tougher. So you start out with Mongols wearing blue, I believe, and then you go to Mongols wearing red, it's Mongols wearing red, right? Because the archers shoot you once, And the Mongols wearing blue, they shoot 3 arrows at a time. And then the Mongols wearing yellow, they'll shoot fire arrows, right? When in Act 3, I thought I had just gotten used to those. I was like, I'm finally winning standoffs against the yellow Mongols and against the straw hat. Yeah, straw hats. Just wandering samurai. And now I'm getting to where I'm fighting heavily armored green Mongols, and they are preternaturally fast. Like for a standoff, I kind of have to guess when they're going to move, because if I use my eyes to react, it's already over.
Wow.
Yeah. And my most recent episode, I started off by winning a duel pretty handily, and I was like, oh, this is going to be a good episode. And then immediately I went to a camp and just got wrecked a few times trying to infiltrate it. Wow. And I lost like every standoff I had against green Mongols except for one, because I kind of guessed. I was holding my controller up to the microphone because I wanted people to listen to the sound of me letting go of the triangle button, and how that just made no impact on how fast they were able to hit me. It was insane.
Well, but that's one of the difficulty.
That's insanity, baby. But I'm still getting through. Enjoying it. I think I'm almost done. At least I hope I am, because I've been playing that game forever. And I did pick up not Until Dawn. I picked up Last of Us 2 from you during the trip, so I'll be playing that next. And I actually booted it up and started playing it for a little bit to try it out.
Yeah, what'd you think?
I like it. It starts off very calm and very somber, which is, kind of the tone of that game. And I liked it. It started off kind of with Joel recapping the ending of the first game to a friend, which I thought was interesting, a way to catch you up and get his opinion on the events and kind of expound on what he was thinking. And kind of him and Ellie awkwardly interacting, but you can tell that, they both do really care about each other, especially Joel. He kind of wears his feelings on his sleeve.
Yeah.
And I think Ellie really cares about him, but I wonder if she's holding in what happened at the end of the first game, and she's wrestling with that versus her feelings for him, as like a fatherly figure. And then they cut, like 4 years later after they make it to that camp. So she's a little bit more grown. Some drama's going on. Boys are kissing girls. Girls are kissing girls.
Oh, yeah.
And, and I got to that snowball fight. I won it handily. So I didn't have to see the fail state there. And then I got introduced to some new characters. And I think the last thing I was doing is I was like on a patrol with Ellie and her friend. And Dina, I think her name is. We were out, just mopping up clickers, as you do.
Right.
So I enjoy it. I think it's pretty fun. It's, just as kind of smooth and intuitive as I remember the first game being. So I'm looking forward to starting that bad boy back up and playing it on stream as my new main after I finish Ghost. So
awesome.
Thank you for that. And then of course we'll do the spoiler cast on both games before the end of the year, and I'm definitely looking forward to that too.
Yeah, me too, man.
So I finished Until Dawn last night, as the time of recording, Friday night.
Okay, was this your first playthrough or your second?
It was my
or third.
My fourth. Because I had my first where everybody lived but Matt, and then my second where I got everybody to live, and then my third that I played with guests. I had a bunch of people over, and I let them control my decisions, and all the women died. And then last night, about half of them died, because I had Sam leave the house too early at the end, and a lot of them got caught in a house explosion. So, whoops.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, I kind of forgot. I was like, I need to stick around longer than this. And, okay. But it was fun because every ending is then slightly different, because you get to hear people talk about, like, their regrets or ask about people who lived or died, that type of thing. So it was interesting to see. But I had a lot of fun with it. Just like I said last night on stream, I recommend anybody to pick it up. I think it is a must as far as like party games, to be honest. Have friends over and just like have fun having people make different decisions or vote on what you should do next, that type of thing. If you have somebody in the driver's seat that's really competent with the game, it can make it a lot of fun for those who are watching it play through. So I know you're planning on playing it with Vicky, right?
No, we actually yes. Because I played it by myself.
The one that you want to play with her.
Yeah, but also Until Dawn. We've only seen a little bit of that.
Yeah, it's good.
So,
I would start with Man and Medan because I think it's a weaker story, but then that way the cherry on top could be Until Dawn. And of course, sometime this year, they're supposed to be releasing the second game in the Dark Pictures trilogy. Or they're calling it Dark Pictures Anthology now, so I think they're planning on doing more than 3 games.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's see, what else did I play this week? Oh, both of us got a chance to check out Avengers Beta.
Yeah.
So that dropped. I think it dropped yesterday. I saw a tweet about it, and I reached out to you, and I got moderately far. I got past the opening that everybody's seen, and a couple of side missions with Kamala, as how it's pronounced. She's not the vice president, and Yeah, I don't know. I want to hear your opinion first. What do you think?
Okay, so I played through the entire beta. I just didn't do the multiplayer portion.
Okay.
It just seems very by the books.
Okay.
And they're not trying to do anything too spectacular
Hmm.
with the combat or the story or anything. It's just here's a third person action Avengers game
Hmm.
in the vein of like let's say God of War, or Tomb Raider, which is the other game series that they've done a good
Arguably
job of
more
reviving.
fantastic games.
Right. Oh yeah. But I mean, I enjoyed it. I think part of the reason why it just felt kind of meh was because I had seen the gameplay trailer,
Hmm.
like the entire demo,
Hmm.
like all the way through. So just going through and playing it was like, I already saw all this, so it just didn't hit me like it probably should have. But
Hmm.
I think that the reason any company releases a beta is so that they can know, get feedback and know how people are liking their game. But I think they really had to release this beta, and it really has to like land for a lot of people because a lot of people are talking trash about this game, how it looks, about the mechanics. Like I heard one guy talking about the QuickTime events, and if you don't press the button, the game just stops.
It does. I did that myself.
And yeah, and it's like, well, that's not exciting at all.
Hmm.
If it continues no matter what, there needs to be some sort of fail state for that.
Maybe there will be the way that
Yeah,
I
and
didn't
it's the
know.
beta.
And I didn't know about that criticism, but I remember I started while I was still working, so I was kind of like going back and forth between like answering emails and playing the game. So
Hmm.
there's this part in the beginning where you take control of Thor, and then he gets ready to like do a ground slam because he's like up in the air and he's gonna go after some enemies. And it puts
Yeah,
up the triangle on the screen to teach you how to do a ground slam. And I got distracted, so I stopped. And then it just boop, and then just the music and everything cut out, and he was just sitting there above in the air, and the triangle button was there, and it hung there for as long as it needed to until I was done doing whatever I needed to do. So I thought that was just because it was in tutorial mode. I didn't take that as an indication that's how the whole game is. I thought that was just
right,
like, hey, if you're not going to press this, we're going to stop the game so you can figure, things
right,
out.
because that is the first mission.
Yeah, it's literally a first QuickTime event too. I
Yeah,
haven't tested all the others, but I know that there was one where they were asking me to jump as the Hulk onto like the side of a trailer because you can jump on like walls or whatever. And that was
yeah,
the first one of that, and that one kind of stopped me too. But again, I didn't take those as quick time events, more as tutorials.
right.
So I haven't had any of those throughout regular gameplay that popped up for me. If they do, though, I'll try to see if that actually causes things to pause. But I'm out of tutorial mode now. Like I played through that beginning. I played through a mission as Hulk and Kamala, and then you get a base, and then you can go out on missions. And all I have is Kamala and Hulk unlocked, but I imagine you'll get more characters unlocked as you go. That was the first like
Mhm.
multiplayer capable mission. I tried reaching out to get other characters, it didn't work. I saw you online, but I know that you were in the middle of like the mission prior and you couldn't join,
Right.
unfortunately. Yeah, I agree with you about it being by the numbers. It felt a little sluggish at first for me, but I got used to that. Like, like the animations kind of slow your actions down a little bit.
Yeah.
I got around that. I played on normal and brutal difficulty. Normal difficulty is pretty easy in the beginning, but it does ramp up, especially when you get to later missions, like as
Yeah.
Hulk. In fact,
Like with those laser snipers.
yeah, I actually died as Hulk a few
Ridiculous.
times on normal difficulty on the later missions.
Which let me interject real quick and talk about
Yeah,
that.
sure.
In the beginning, when you're playing as Thor and you're facing these run-of-the-mill grunts,
Mm-hmm.
and it's taking so many hits with Mjolnir to kill them, it breaks my immersion completely.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one of the faults of the game is that you have these larger than life characters who can fight like giants and other dimensional beings, but here's Joe Schmo with a laser gun, and I gotta hit him 15 times before he falls.
Yeah, it's like he picks up a bus and he throws it back down, and then some little guy
Right.
gives him a smackdown. He's not Godzilla.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
And same thing with Hulk. Like I'm the Hulk.
yeah.
Why am I having an issue facing these
Yeah, why are
grunts?
these jobbers giving me trouble? Yeah.
Yeah, make me feel powerful. Like a game that did was Ultimate Destruction
Mm.
on the Incredible Hulk Ultimate Destruction on like PS2 and GameCube.
Go back and play that.
Go back and play it.
Yeah, because I played it recently, and I got bodied.
Really?
Yeah, it does make you feel powerful in a way, but a lot of your attacks can be interrupted a lot easier than you remember, and
Okay.
there's a lot more dodging and protecting yourself than you probably recall. That game actually, I agree with you that when it's doing well and when you have your abilities and you're in the zone and you're timing your attacks well, you can feel very powerful. And the little enemies, one thing they did do right is you don't have like a little itty bitty soldier giving you trouble. So they did do that part right. But
Right.
helicopters, tanks, missiles, everything kind of zooms on you a little bit faster and a little bit quicker than you remember, and it hits you really hard. So
Okay. Well,
I
yeah,
agree
like
with you.
that makes
I
sense.
agree.
But
I'm tracking with what you're saying, definitely.
yeah, and like when you have enemies that have shields that you have to break
Mm-hmm.
as the Hulk, and you have to
Yeah,
hold down triangle.
and can get interrupted easily.
Yes. Oh my
Yeah,
God, it
I
was
get it.
so annoying.
Yeah,
And it would make sense if like the completely charged up one breaks it instantly, but a bunch of little triangle attacks will break the guard as well. But no, you have to do the fully charged up one to break their shield,
yeah, and it takes a really long
and
time.
that's something they're gonna have to fix.
It takes. I want to say that a fully charged
Exactly.
attack
I'm
takes
like,
3 full
Jesus Christ,
seconds at least. Like it takes a long time.
that sounds about right.
Maybe even 4. Like it feels like it takes too long because you get interrupted really easily. So you almost have to time
Hmm.
their attacks. Like you have to wait for them to attack and then quickly charge up your attack and hope they don't follow up with another attack. Like when I played on brutal difficulty and I only did the opening sequence on brutal. It's doable and it does showcase your powers a little bit more, but you do have to fight them longer because they're higher level than you. But you do have to do a lot of dodging. That to me felt natural because you're on a harder difficulty and I accepted it more. But I agree with you. If you're playing on normal, jobbers should not be giving you any trouble. And the thing is, Marvel Ultimate Alliance made this mistake too. You be having these super powered in it, like you playing as Captain Marvel and Hulk and Thor,
Hmm.
and these little jobbers, these little like extra enemies, whatever, with their guns, would be knocking you down constantly.
Oh yeah.
And you can eventually level up and then pick a difficulty mode and find a sweet spot where you feel powerful but still challenged by bosses. But you shouldn't have to do that. The game should be doing that for you. And I agree. Like if you're booting up a superhero game, you want to feel like a superhero. Like let's name off a couple of good examples of games that have done it right. I can think of a couple just off the dome. Spider-Man
Spider-Man.
PS4, right?
Yeah.
Yep. I know
Hmm.
you have that one too. And Batman Arkham.
Yeah. And I was gonna say Batman Arkham, but Batman, he is a superhero, yes, but he is also just a normal man.
Yeah,
So it makes
but
sense for him.
yet they still did a better job making him feel like he was in command of a combat situation.
Yeah.
Like when you got beat down as Batman in Batman Arkham, you felt like it was your fault, right?
Hmm.
You weren't like, oh, stupid game, why am I so underpowered? But
Right.
with Marvel Ultimate Alliance and now Marvel Avengers, the Crystal Dynamics version, yeah, I agree with you. There's a bit of a dissonance with fighting jobbers and just like regular foot soldiers, and then these superpowered because eventually in that opening sequence you fight Taskmaster, and I was expecting
Yeah.
that to be a tougher fight. It's Black Widow versus Taskmaster. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's going to take a
And
second.
that took my immersion out too. I'm like, Black Widow is not going one on one with Taskmaster.
You don't think so?
No way. Oh yeah, no way.
Why?
No way.
He has all these
Sometimes
powers
it
that.
takes the whole
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, sometimes it takes the whole team to take them down in the comics, to
Mm-hmm.
take down Taskmaster. Just because he's so adept at well, he's got a photographic memory and
Mm-hmm.
he's so adept at many different types of martial arts and Black Widow's just Black Widow.
Yeah, but
And I feel like
she's really adept at different types of martial arts, and the way that they progressed the fight was kind of interesting for a tutorial perspective because you start off knowing combos, then they introduce the grapple, then they introduce switching between light and heavy attacks, and you got your guns, and he did kind of adapt. If you relied on one attack too much,
yeah.
he would switch it up. I I don't know.
I just mean from a story perspective. Like
Fair
in
enough.
gameplay wise, yeah, sure. But
But also, that
that
wasn't his
that's
goal. Wasn't to win, if you recall.
right.
I think he was more like maybe he could have won that fight anytime he wanted to, and he was
You
elongating
know what?
it for a purpose, right?
Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
more sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll run with you on that. I'll run with you on that.
Cool. But overall, I kind of agree with your assessment. I mean, they asked me after I finished that first multiplayer mission with Kamala and Hulk. They were like, "What'd you think about this mission?" 1 out of 5. I was like, 3, I guess.
Yeah.
I didn't really. I don't know.
And
Okay.
maybe we should try and play the multiplayer later, and maybe it feels better
Yeah. Yeah.
playing together. Then.
All right. So.
But yeah, one more thing about
Oh, yeah.
Marvel Avengers. All in all, fighting up to a boss needs to be fun.
Mhm.
combat needs to be entertaining, and so far that's not what I got from it. It's
Mm.
just kind of like this is an Avengers game. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna play through it. I'm gonna beat it
Yeah. Okay.
because I want to see the story. But as far as the gameplay and everything, it did not impress me.
Fair
So
enough.
if they can switch it up and make it fun and not get interrupted
Mm.
from a 4 second charge up attack, then
Yeah.
we might be in the game. But
That
yeah,
reminds me
I
of one
like
more
it.
thing I want to say about it too. Actually,
Yeah.
it's like opening chests, the video game. It got really bad on my multiplayer mission, but I don't know if you noticed
Oh
with
yeah.
your mission with Hulk and Kamala, but like you open chests every 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And it's just like all this loot and gear. And I know they're geared up to like charge people to buy like extra loot or points that they can use to unlock those extras, like the costumes and everything that you can get through normal gameplay. I don't like that at all.
Yeah.
It
It's
just
normal.
took too
No.
long, and I'd rather them just have a like to level up and have an ability tree, which they do. But in addition, you have all this equipment you have to micromanage, and they have shortcuts. Like there's a button you can hold down to equip the best equipment, or
Yeah, like I
whatever.
love that.
But you constantly have to go back and forth in the menu to upgrade or re up on that equipment because you get your ass kicked so much. So
Hmm.
I don't know. I mean, it to me it's built like they're trying to interject a lot of things that they can monetize, and like you're gonna have to play through the game multiple times, and it's giving me Marvel Ultimate Alliance vibes all over again. And I can't say much because I put 300 hours into that game, but
Right.
it I don't know if I could do that again. We'll see.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, let's see. What else did we play this week? I think I covered all the games that I played. You do anything else?
Yeah, I played Fall Guys
Okay.
on PS4,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the free game right now on PlayStation Plus, and it's basically just a giant multiplayer party game.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me sort of Gang Beast. If anybody's ever played that, you play as these like basically jelly beans with legs.
Yeah, you little floppy guys. Yeah.
Yeah, and it starts off with like 60 players, and each subsequent mini game players get eliminated until there's only one standing. There's like a seesaw obstacle course. There's sock. You have to put eggs into a different team's goal, and just a bunch of little silly party games that are. It's really fun.
Cool.
I'm not gonna lie, I really
It
enjoyed
looked.
it.
I haven't had a chance to try it. I was gonna try it on Wednesday's stream, but Wednesday was my wife's birthday, and she was like, "Are you gonna watch Umbrella Academy with me?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna skip stream for one
What
more day.
what's my stream?
I'm gonna extend a vacation. I cut Wednesday out of the stream anyways. I'll talk about my changes to my schedule later on. But yeah, I was like, yeah, I'll skip Fall Guys so we can get some quality time in on your birthday. So
Yeah, good for you.
but yeah, I'm looking forward to checking it out. It sounds like a lot of fun. Did you have fun with it?
Yeah, it was fun. It was real fun. If we have fun with Gang Beasts, we definitely have fun with that.
Cool.
And the other thing that I played was Ryan's recommendation, Maneater,
Mm-hmm.
which was a Shark PG.
Mm.
And yeah, what I played of it so far, I mean, it's okay. Like I want to keep on playing it so I can evolve and get bigger and
Mm.
better. Because right now I'm getting like thrashed by alligators and stuff.
Yikes.
It's pretty interesting, voice acting and the narration and everything. So every time that you eat a different sea creature that you haven't eaten before, the narrator will talk about that sea creature like it's a documentary or something.
Oh, okay.
And it's like the bluefin gill is native to this area. Why it's here, I have no idea. And it's really, it's kind of like a Deadpool way of comedy.
It's like little meta, little self.
So it kind of
breaking
breaks the fourth wall a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, hey, these are side quests. You know, they're like quests that aren't the main quest, but they go good with the main quest. They're just not the main one.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, guys,
Yeah,
that's
sometimes
cute.
those
But let's
jokes
not do
can
that.
land, and sometimes they become too much. Where do you think Maneater falls as far as that?
It's a little much.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, it's a little much, but I'm enjoying it.
Good.
Yeah, but that's all I've been playing this week.
Well, I thought you said you were playing a little bit of Need for Speed.
Oh yeah. I played that for maybe about an hour or two.
Oh, okay.
Need for Speed Heat.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's the newest one. Need for Speed hasn't really hit for me since I want to say Most Wanted on the 360
Mm.
and the original one, and not the remake that they did or the rebrand.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, it looks good and everything, but I don't know, man. Ever since they tried to start making their own characters and getting out the car and doing all this other extra stuff. It's just give me a good racing game.
Yeah, I just,
Let the cops get me, and I can, that's why I need Burnout to come back.
oh
I
man,
love Burnout.
yeah, me too. Yeah, why they
And
haven't
there,
like remastered or re-released the other ones aside from Paradise, I have no idea.
yeah, and there's a game that's made by the same people that is basically Burnout. It's called Dangerous Driving. Yeah, and it's literally Burnout, but it's not at the same time. Made by the same people, but it's just a little more clunky.
Okay,
But yeah,
yeah,
Need for Speed Heat, baby.
cool. All right, so we got some news. Not a ton, or at least not a ton that came across my radar. There's one really big piece of news that we can talk about here in a sec. But I saw early on in the week there were rumors that Killer 7 was going to be remade for the Switch, or at least remastered or released on the Switch. And the rumors started circulating because Engine Software, the developer working on the PC version, had like PC/Switch, I think, written on one of their social medias or their blogs, and it was an accident.
Mm.
They came out directly and was like, hey, no plans to work on the Switch, not working on the Switch. Suda51 like backed that up. So it doesn't mean it's impossible, but we're a long ways away from a Switch version of Killer 7, unfortunately. They're just working on the PC version for now. So for those who heard that rumor, I'm sorry to dash your hopes, but we have official quotes and interviews from the current developer that that's not going to happen. I don't know why they would vehemently deny it if they were doing it. That doesn't really make any sense to me, but it is what it is. So
Yeah.
sounds like just a case of whoops-a-doodles on their old
Mm-hmm.
posts. I don't know.
They're like PC, Switch.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Let's see. I got a chance to watch that indie showcase that showed up on Tuesday for Switch. Nintendo Indie Showcase. A lot of cool, interesting games that have come out already, like on that day or coming out pretty soon. So I would encourage people, if you like indies at all, to go check it out. But a couple things stood out to me. Supergiant, which is the developer, I think, Transistor and Bastion, which if you haven't played either, you should. They're amazing. They have a game that's currently on PC called Hades, and they're releasing that on Switch next month, I believe. Well, no, they said sometime in fall 2020, so that could be anytime between now and the end of the year, to be honest. But Hades is kind of like a roguelike procedural where you start in the depth of Hades, and I think you play as like Hades' son, I believe. And you go through the pantheon of gods, and you're fighting the way to try to get up to Zeus. And each time you die, it's like part of the narrative. Like, why do you keep trying? You keep getting knocked down. He's like, oh, I'm going to do it again. And it's got kind of a jovial tone, but the art is really interesting. And these are from people who have made very interesting and fun games to me in the past. So something that's on my radar. It's something I'll probably talk about later on when it actually comes out. So we got that. Also, for those who own Untitled Goose Game, there is a free update coming out next month. I think around September 15th, but don't quote me on that. Where you can play as a second goose character. And then you can wreak havoc with two geese. Two of them. So, and it looked like a lot of fun. So if you enjoy that game and you have a friend, I'm not even sure if I want to tell Ben because he was obsessed with that game and I got so sick of playing it. But I might share it with him because me and him going around together tearing it up as geese, and actually might be a lot of fun. So
Awesome.
Then I know you had a few bits of news. We could talk about that before we get to the big one.
Yeah, just a little bit. Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War was announced.
Okay.
And the full reveal trailer will be on August 26th, so be on the lookout for that.
Cool.
I think it's funny. They really don't want to drop the Black Ops name.
Yeah.
That's a long for Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War.
We're going to have to call it COD Blopskawa. Trying to get like the acronym.
Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, the video game 2.
Director's Cut. HD.
Right. Oh, shit. Let's see. In DC movie news, was announced that Ben Affleck, otherwise known as Batfleck, will be returning to play Batman in Ezra Miller's Flash movie.
Cool.
And that I like that because Ben Affleck, to me, a lot of people hated him as Batman, but I think that he gave us the most physical on-screen Batman that we've seen so far.
I didn't dislike him as Batman. I disliked Zack Snyder's version of the DC universe.
That makes sense. Well, we gotta wait for that Snyder cut.
No, I think it's out and I think it sucks. So, but yeah.
Oh, no.
I'm interested in checking that out. I mean, it's funny. I think whenever you criticize DC, especially if you've praised Marvel in the past, people are like, oh, you're a Marvel fanboy. No, Trust me, loyalty to brands is not my thing. My loyalty is to stuff that's good, and I will switch it anytime I want. I'm completely aware that this is a business. I want DC to do well. I like watching good movies. I really enjoyed Wonder Woman. I thought that was a great movie. Trying to think if there's another DC property I enjoyed. Shazam was all right. You know?
Yeah, Shazam was pretty good.
Yeah. Aquaman was dumb, but it was kind of fun dumb.
Oh, I loved Aquaman.
You did?
Not because it was a great movie, but just because it was just so cheesy.
So stupid. That part where he gets on the boat like, wow!
Yeah. I should have come aboard.
He like turned his head, the camera zoomed in, permission to come aboard.
Right. Like, sure, Aquaman.
I didn't know what to do with that character. There were times when he was smart, times when he was dumb, and I was just like, what do you guys do? Anyways.
Yeah. If you real quick, Cosmonaut Variety Hour.
Yeah.
Is a YouTube channel that I watch, and he does reviews on movies and stuff. And he just did a video on that, Aquaman, talking about, you thought it was going to be how he hated it, but he actually ended up liking it a lot more.
Variety Hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's one of those movies that if you're in the mood for silliness, it's going to be fine. I think a lot of people, especially if they're watching it, if they're young, it's going to be like that dumb movie they like that they know is dumb. Like, for instance, I love Hackers. Hackers is the stupidest movie ever, and I don't care. I love it. I watched it when I was like, I don't know, 12 or 13, and I fell in love with it, and I've never not liked it. So I get it. Even as an adult, as dumb as it was, I was like, this is kind of fun. I don't like it as much as Wonder Woman or Shazam, but I don't hate it like I do like Man of Steel or Batman vs. Superman, or, you know. So.
Yeah, Batman vs. Superman was god awful.
Okay. So we got Batfleck coming back. Guess who's back?
Yeah.
Back again. Batfleck's
yeah, any 90s kids listening, if you were a fan of Darkwing Duck back in the day, it just was announced that he is going to be returning in an episode of the new DuckTales series titled Let's Get Dangerous. Woo! And I don't know if, were you around the age where watching Darkwing Duck was acceptable?
I was, but I didn't really get into it. Whenever Darkwing Duck was on, I was either upset that wasn't the day Gargoyles was coming on, or I was waiting for Gargoyles to come on.
Oh man, I loved Darkwing Duck. When there's trouble, you call Ding W. Yeah. Darkwing Duck.
I mean, nobody can fuck with Disney afternoon theme songs.
Oh yeah.
Like, I mean, DuckTales
woo woo.
Favorite. Yeah, I can't not. I'm struggling to not sing it right now. I'm holding back.
DuckTales, woo woo.
Let me hear you say "fuck tails." Woo.
That's
any joke.
Yeah, but that's really exciting to hear. I'm really excited to hear that, so I want to check that out. And the last piece of news before the big news is Crysis Remastered is a thing. And it's coming out on September 10th for the PS4 and Xbox One, I believe.
Cool. I'm a Crysis 2 guy,
so,
but, you need Crysis before you get to Crysis 2, obviously. So.
Yeah, and I never played Crysis 1. I played Crysis 2 and 3, which were both pretty dope games.
Yeah. Yeah. Where can you watch the new DuckTales, by the way? Because I didn't even know there was a new DuckTales. I know it's been out for a few years.
I know if you have cable, you can easily watch it on the Disney Channel. Or Toon Disney or whatever they. You know what? It might be on Disney Plus. I'm gonna have to look at that.
All right.
Yeah, because I haven't. That actually. Oh wow, yeah. I could probably see Darkwing Duck. Yeah. Just got really excited.
See a hero, man. Come on.
Yeah.
Man. I can't believe it took this long for them to get a crossover. You figured they would have done it sooner, you know.
All right, because I'm waiting for Tailspin and Chip and Dale to come back.
Tailspin, yeah. I mean, all their songs were dope. Remember Rescue Rangers?
Yeah.
Sometimes some crimes go slipping through the cracks. That was more 80s though, wasn't it? Or was that around the same time?
It might have been 80s.
Yeah, I think that was older. That was before Disney Afternoon, but it was when they were doing Disney cartoons. Because that had its own NES game, but Darkwing Duck, that was on the SNES, baby. Oh,
yeah.
Alongside Gargoyles. Although Gargoyles, it was only on Sega. I don't think Gargoyles ever made it.
Sega!
Yeah. That was a hard game, dude. Remember playing Gargoyles on Sega?
I remember playing it a little bit back in the day, and I know I told you I got a complete and box copy. It's like in mint condition.
That's awesome.
Sitting here at the house, and I still haven't popped it in yet, but I will.
Or anything. But I'm not going to play the cart because I can just play it on emulator now. But yeah, that game was hard. I did beat it, but for the love of the series, man, and it took me a long time. That end boss was bullshit. It was Demona possessed by the Eye of Odin. Spoilers for this really old game. It was Demona possessed by the Eye of Odin, just like flying around the screen, just big hitbox of damage. Good luck, Goliath.
Right.
So, and
Damona.
yeah. It did a good job though. Like, it was tough, but in the beginning there were a lot of jobbers that you could one shot if you aimed your attack right. There was like a grab attack you could do where you could just yeet up a dude and then just slam him on the ground. He goes, "Ah!" And it was amazing. I loved it.
Awesome.
All right, well, then the big news. You sent this trailer to me, and I am all about it. Give us the deets, Derrick.
Okay, so this trailer came out of nowhere. This game is called Black Myth Wukong. If you know what Wukong is, Sun Wukong is the Monkey King.
That's right.
And
Journey to the West.
Yeah, famous Chinese story called Journey to the West. And this trailer just came out of nowhere. It's a kind of Dark Souls. It's a Soul style game based off of the Chinese myth.
Ryan doesn't want to play no Chinese Dark Souls.
No Chinese Dark Souls. But it looks amazing.
It does look really
like
good.
It looks like next gen shit going on.
Yeah.
And like he starts off as a golden cicada, and when you start the trailer, you're just playing as this, like, you look at it, you're not thinking it's a cicada, it's like a beetle or whatever. But then you see it transforms into Wukong or Sun Wukong, and immediately I was like, oh, that's super dope. He can turn into a cicada whenever he wants. Then as you're flying, you see all these anthropomorphic animals, like you got wolves and foxes and stuff, and they're all carrying weapons and whatnot. Once he gets out of his cicada form, he runs into some enemies and just some really cool combat moves. Like, there's a enemy shooting a bunch of arrows at him, and he's literally swinging his bow staff repeatedly and just deflecting the arrows, and it just looks so cool.
The animation on it was really neat.
Yeah, I was like, if this is really how this game is going to play, it's a day one for me.
Yeah.
And that's just off of that. That was the first two enemies that they showed. Yeah, you go a bit further, and he fights a bunch of enemies, probably like 15 enemies or so, and then he turns into a giant ape, and he starts fighting them. Well, even before that, he fights a kind of mini boss, and once he defeats him, he gets his weapon. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, so cool, so I'll be able to switch the weapon. But little did I know, later in the trailer, when he gets to the giant wolf boss fight, he literally transforms into the enemy that he took the weapon from and uses the weapon.
Right.
And I just thought that was so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he has like Naruto shadow clone stuff he can do, where he just sends out a bunch. Yeah,
I love that. That was really cool.
Yeah, it's just so cool. It's so cool. I haven't looked at a trailer for a game and just been like, I want to play that right now in such a long time.
Yeah.
Like, that was based on a previous IP that I've played already. Right. Like, this game looks, and I don't even really like Souls games. Like, Bloodborne was interesting. I'm just not really good at it. But this looks like it's going to be like just a tier below Bloodborne, maybe a tier above Ghost of Tsushima as far as difficulty.
Well, I think it's really easy to compare things to Dark Souls, but I think the reason why this is not going to be another Dark Souls is because of the agency given to the player. Because again, Dark Souls, I would compare, if all action games are fighting games, Dark Souls is boxing.
Right.
Meaning that there's a lot more emphasis placed on stamina management, defending, dodging, and attacking. And those are the mechanics that dominate combat, not like your ability to throw shadow clones or to use right? So to me, it's more comparable to Ghost of Tsushima because you have all these tools at your disposal. Like, we watched, Monkey King get a little bit bodied during that wolf fight and then transform, right? And then become like this like version that can attack with like flames and set the wolf on fire and then do the jitsu or whatever. Like, throw out all the different Monkey Kings and all these different abilities. So to me, if you have a really good command of your character and the different abilities they have, yeah, there's timing involved. We watched the Monkey King do his dodge rolling and stuff like that. And there are very big enemies with very large, bombastic attacks. So that's probably the part that looks like Souls. But I think the agency given to the player and the fact that you don't really seem to get one-shotted, you get chipped away just like the boss gets chipped away, tells me that it is going to be a little bit more approachable, I would say. Right?
Yeah, I
can't
wait.
The emphasis will be less on dying and more on, do you have command over your abilities or don't you? Right?
Right.
So, yeah, I know you were asking, like, man, talking about trailers that got you excited to play a game right away. I haven't seen a trailer that got me excited to play a game right away like that since probably Spider-Man, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a pre-existing property, kind of. But each
Right.
Spider-Man game can kind of be judged on its own because it's different developers.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm excited, and it looks really fun. The story around this game is kind of fascinating. So you had already mentioned it's based on Journey to the West. We've seen a lot of adaptations. It's one of the more highly adapted things, especially in Japanese media.
Most famously, Dragon Ball.
Dragon Ball, right? Because Goku, which if you translate, Son Goku, Son Wukong, he can change into a giant monkey. He rides around on the cloud. He uses a bow staff, right?
Yep.
Then you have Enslaved, Odyssey to the West, little known 360 game. A lot of people should
check
out, right? Son Wukong shows up as like a playable demon, I think, in some Shin Megami games, right? Because he is like considered a deity. He showed up in Warriors Orochi. I mean, look at Pokemon. Infernape is basically Son Wukong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But the thing that's interesting about this game is it's developed by a company known as Game Science. It's a Chinese developer. It's made up of former Tencent devs. And this would be touted as China's first AAA game. This is a country mostly known for mobile game development, coming out with a AAA game. And their first... I mean, it looks like the Get Out of first entries.
Right.
It looks like it's polished and it looks well made. It's really impressive.
We've watched you guys do it for 30 years. Now it's our turn.
Yeah, we're just going to come out and do our own. So yeah, I've always really enjoyed media inspired by Journey to the West. I really enjoyed like that movie, The Forbidden Kingdom, where Jet Li played the Monkey King. I always thought the Monkey King was an interesting character because he's so jovial and silly, but so powerful at the same time.
Yeah.
So we'll see kind of how... I mean, there was a little bit of Monkey King personality, I feel like, shown in the trailer, but not a ton. But you can kind of tell it's a little bit on the goofy side, even if it has all the epicness and the huge giant enemies, and the Monkey King is going into deity mode. Like, there was that part at the end where he had, like, the big kind of feather tassels, kind of like Lu Bu wears.
Yeah.
He was fighting, like, 100 dudes in the clouds.
Oh, it's so
and it
cool.
felt so Dynasty Warriors. I was like, that looks epic. I mean, that name gets thrown around a lot, or that word gets thrown around a lot, but I feel like it really applied here.
Yeah.
And this is one of the 4 great classical novels of Chinese literature, and China's making it. They're going to show it respect. The kind of respect it deserves. So that is some big news, and I'm excited to see more about it. So if you haven't already, dear listeners, go check out the trailer for Black Myth Wukong. I don't think you'll be disappointed if you like action games. All right, so I think that's all we got for gaming news, right?
Nope, got one more thing.
Oh, hey, bring it out.
Yeah, so Sony and many of the developers for the PS5 have been detailing what haptic feedback for the DualSense controller means for their games.
Oh, yeah.
And I've got a few things queued up. So I'm just going to read these quotes for you real quick.
Okay.
From Spider-Man Miles Morales, creative director Brian Horton said, "We'll be hinting to players which direction attacks are coming from by providing haptic feedback from the appropriate direction on the DualSense. As you hold down square to do a venom punch, you will feel Spider-Man's bioelectricity crackle across from the left side of the controller, culminating in the right side on impact."
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that's a lot of words, but it sounds nice. Sounds really, really good. Yeah, I'm not going to read through all of these because some of them are a little...
Probably easy to Google, though, right?
Yeah, really easy to Google. The other one that I'll mention is Deathloop, the game being made by Arcane Studios. In that game, your gun can jam, and when your gun jams in the game, you will not be able to pull the trigger.
So it'll stop you from...
So that's exactly. So that's going to let you know that you need to reload or whatever the game has for you in that moment. But yeah, I'm excited.
I wonder how expensive.
I'm excited for haptic feedback.
Because that sounds like a lot.
Oh, they're gonna be like $80.
Yeah, you think so?
They're gonna be like $80. It's nice to see some new technology come through with the controller.
I wonder when they start doing re-releases for games they optimized that were on the previous generation. Like we talked about Witcher as an example, that'll probably happen. If they'll incorporate some of those new features, I can't think of what that would be like for the Witcher, but maybe when he's casting signs,
Yeah, I don't know. I'm ready to see what's going on. Trying to get my store credit up.
Some gimmicky bullshit in their controller. They're gonna come out with the game to showcase it off for sure.
Oh yeah, and it's gonna be bad.
Yeah, I mean,
whatever game it is.
Tell you count number of times that I like turned on a lighter by sliding across the gamepad. Like, okay,
right. I could have just used the D-pad, but okay.
All right, it's fine. That's the game. Cool. All right. Well, let's get into these deals. Might be a longer episode than last week, man. Wow. I didn't think we had a ton to talk about, but we had a ton to say, didn't we?
Yeah, you sure did.
All right. Well, game deals. So I'm trying to kind of branch out. There were a lot of deals on PC. Steam deals don't really interest me as much because I feel like they're always Steam deals. But, if I ever get any feedback from listeners, they want to hear more about Steam deals, we can definitely talk about that. For eShop, there was a lot of games coming out under $10 that were interesting. Moonlighter is a really good game people should play. It is a procedurally generated dungeon crawler where you go and get supplies and then you run a merchant shop and you sell those supplies during the day. So it's kind of got like store sim / dungeon crawling kind of put together in a game. I really had a lot of fun with it. Let's see, Blazing Chrome, which is kind of like an 8-bit Contra style shooter, looks really cool. That's on sale for under $10. They're both like $8.50 each. Castle Crashers is on the eShop for $8.99. If you haven't played Castle Crashers yet, do it. It's one of the greatest beat 'em ups out there for sure, like hands down. I got the original 360 and I played it a ton, so definitely a must buy. I think Broforce. Broforce, that game where you can play as all your classic bro 80s action heroes and 90s. You can play as Blade, right? You can play as John McClane, any character that Arnold Schwarzenegger has ever played in any movie ever. Same thing as Sylvester Stallone. So that's like $3.74. Worth it. Let's see. Oh, also on the PlayStation Network, they got that under 20 sale. I know that you're going to talk about in a bit, but Warriors, the Warriors remaster, which is a really good brawler, that's for $8.99. That's worth picking up. So what you got?
Let's see, I got Death Stranding is $17.99 at GameFly.com right now. Okay. I've never ordered from them personally, but when I look in the gaming groups that I'm in, they always say that their games come with all the necessary stuff. So it has the case and the artwork and whatever manuals.
So they don't just throw those out whenever they get the game for renting.
Right, exactly.
Hey, pro tip, if you have a GameFly account, if you haven't already been doing this, typically when you rent Switch games from GameFly, you can get the points off the carts. They don't usually get the points.
Oh,
so
nice.
If you're like the first person to rent it, there's a pretty good chance that you'll be able to get those points, which is nice. I got points for Let's Go Pikachu way back in the day for free.
So that's cool. Awesome. For the under 20 sale, I just grabbed a couple that were interesting to me. Mm-hmm. The Jack and Daxter bundle is $14.79. That includes Jack and Daxter 1, Jack 2, Jack 3, and Jack X Combat Racing. Cool. That is a steal.
Yeah.
I love the Jack and Daxter games. I've beaten.
Yeah, for 2 and 3 alone, it's worth it.
Yeah, and I even love 1. Like, yeah, 1 is just. They're all good.
I never finished 1. I'm not going to knock it. I think it was cool. It's just at the time Ratchet and Clank was already out, and I was way more into that. So then when it started to act like Ratchet and Clank from Jack 2 on, I was like, okay, I can get with this.
Yeah, Jack 1 was really bare bones when it.
Yeah, it was way more focused on platforming,
like weapons and everything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which was fine.
Yeah.
Like this is from a time when Naughty Dog did. To me, Naughty Dog has not missed yet.
No. If there's one thing you can say about Naughty Dog is that they consistently put out good games. Like they haven't put out a bad game, in my opinion. So.
Yeah, Crash, Jack and Daxter,
they may
Uncharted,
not always be your cup of tea, but they're good games. They're solid.
Right. Yeah. And the other game, if you're a big JRPG nerd like me, Tales of Berseria, which is part of the Tales series,
that's really cheap.
Is only $9.99.
I think I saw it for even cheaper than that. I thought I saw it for like $5 somewhere.
Really?
Yeah. I'll look that up.
We might have to go in there.
Covering the deals real quick because I don't want to lead people wrong. But I remember Tales of Berseria being on sale for like stupid cheap. So yeah, keep going. I'll check into that.
Let's see. Knack 2 is $9.99. Yeah, 2 baby. It's a masterpiece.
It's a masterpiece.
Game of the year, baby. It is on sale.
Super Mario Brothers 2. Sorry, we're Donkey Kong now.
It's on sale at Amazon right now for $9.99.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like I heard about. Yeah, I think you can get it on GameStop for $9.99 too.
Knack.
Yeah, Knack 2. Okay, yeah. Yeah, you can get it at GameStop for $9.99 as well, just in case you're interested in buying from them instead of Amazon. I don't know why you would be, but just saying.
Right. Well, yeah, pretty much just go to the PlayStation Store and go to the under $20 deals, and there's a lot of stuff there. There's a lot of good stuff.
All right. Well, I think Tales of Berseria, I was looking for it. I think maybe it was on sale for $5 on PC, which makes sense. You're going to get stuff on PC. You're always going to get a little bit cheaper than for consoles. Yeah. So if I see anything differently, maybe I'll put it in the notes of the episode, but I don't want to spend the whole episode trying to track it down because I saw it like a few days ago. So no big deal. So let's go ahead and get this bad boy wrapped up. We're at an hour and a half before editing.
Ooh,
Yeah, we had a lot to say. So let me ask you, Derrick, this week, what you feeling?
I am feeling a YouTuber by the name of SSJ9K.
Mm-hmm.
He is a primarily Dragon Ball parody YouTuber, but he also does like other anime stuff like My Hero Academia and Yu-Gi-Oh! And just a bunch of different parodies. And it's to the point where I listen to his songs so much that my daughter actually knows the songs and sings them, and they're not like really appropriate for a 3-year-old to be singing, but it's
She's
so
speaking.
funny.
It's a miracle.
Yeah, she's speaking. It's American. That was a Japan Sinks 2020 reference. If you've seen that, you know exactly what we're talking about and why we're laughing so hard.
Mother, thank you. I kind of need to see that now.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of crazy shit that happens in that show. That just happens to be the funniest thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's got a parody of Roddy Rich's The Box called The Bach, which is Katsuki Bakugo from My Hero Academia rapping rapping the song, and Nora sings that like she's like, "Can we listen to The Bach?"
She wants
I'm
to
like,
rock
"Yeah."
rock, baby.
I'm like, "Yeah, we can listen to The Bach." We'll put that on. But yeah, he does a lot of musical parodies, and a lot of times he'll have characters rap battle against each other. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just entertaining. It's hilarious, and it's really base as far as like the comedy is concerned. Like there's a lot of butt and penis jokes
Yeah,
in
it's
there,
kind of
but
like My Way Entertainment, just like, oh, I'm a juggernaut, bitch, stuff like that.
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
like
right on.
it's real base, but you need that sometimes. It's real.
Hey man, the inner
You don't need
14
to
inner
think
14
too
year old
hard
in me
about
needs
it.
to get fed. I understand
Yeah,
that.
yeah. But yeah, that's what I'm feeling this week. So
Well, don't feel too bad. My 4-year old keeps going around like there's some horse in this house. There's some
yeah.
horses. But he
Wet
thinks I'm
ass P
saying there's a
word.
horse in this house. He goes, "There's no horses in the house, Daddy." And I'm like,
Right.
"Okay." All right. Well,
It's
I'm
wet
actually
ass P word.
just get a bucket and a mop for this wet ass P word. Oh, that's the gift that keeps on giving, that song.
Uh,
So I'm feeling a YouTube channel this week, actually, too. There is a YouTube channel out there called Jaden Animations. Have you heard of it before?
I am not.
There's a pretty large community, I think, on YouTube, and by extension, it used to be Newgrounds, although I think she's younger, so I don't think she's of the Newgrounds generation. But she rolls with some of those people like Aaron Hansen that used to be. Jaden Animations, she does Adobe Flash animating. She's really good. A lot of her animations are very funny. She got on my radar because she did a video called I Attempted My First Pokemon Nuzlocke. And she does a Nuzlocke run of Pokemon Ruby. For those who don't know, a Nuzlocke run is where you apply your own rules to Pokemon to make the game harder. So traditionally, there's variants of the rules, but traditionally, if a Pokemon faints, it's dead forever and you can't use it. You can only catch the first Pokemon you encounter on each route, and if you accidentally knock that Pokemon out, you don't get a Pokemon on that route. And you have to basically go from the beginning of the game to the end of the game with permadeath for your Pokemon. And I think a lot of extra rules are like, around item use, or like you have to, I think she followed the rule where you have to nickname each one of the Pokemon you use, or each one that you catch, I should say. So that way you develop more of a bond with them. And it's really good. And she does other video game animations and animations around her life and stuff like that, but they're really funny and they're really interesting. And she's gotten to the point now where she has a team, so a lot of the quality on them. I think one of the most recent videos she released was about another Pokemon game, one of the Pokemon Ranger games on DS, and how it's actually really decent. And she talks about her journey through that game through animation. So I would recommend people checking those out if you like funny video game related animations. I think she's pretty charming. So, and that's Jaden, spelled Jaiden.
Awesome.
Right. Well, I think that might be time for us. So, Derrick, if the people are liking what they're hearing, they're interested in those sweet deals and pickups, that's something we didn't talk about. So, why don't you give us where we can find you, maybe talk about a few pickups you have, and where people can locate those deals.
Okay. You can follow me on Twitter at goodies_more. You can follow me on Instagram at gamergoodiesmore, and you can check out all the sweet deals that I pick up at ebay.com/str/gamergoodiesmore. And just a couple things that I picked up this week. Actually, yesterday, I grabbed a couple of Dark Souls trilogies for PS4 and Xbox One. And if you don't know, that's a becoming very hard game to find. And I also picked up Red Dead Redemption 2 Ultimate Edition, on PS4, 3D Dot Game Heroes for the PS3, which is like a old school Zelda style game, and it's actually pretty good. I've played quite a bit of it, and I really enjoyed what I played. And all these things are up on my eBay store, so if you want to check those out, then feel free. And that is about it.
Excellent. All right. Well, I got a few changes to my schedule, so I'll mention those. For those interested, you can follow me on Twitter at Mike Peterson AL. You can check out my YouTube channel for my past streams that have expired from Twitch at MC Paperstacks Plays. And of course, my Twitch channel is twitch.tv/MC Paperstacks. So I'm keeping the same schedule as I used to. Monday Brawlers at 9, Friday Night Frights at 10, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday at 8. We're playing the main game. Right now it's Ghost of Tsushima. Pretty soon it'll be Last of Us 2. I have temporarily ceased Wednesday blind plays and Sunday Witcher plays for now, just to kind of give myself a bit of a break because I was kind of streaming every single night. So, and there may be some adjustments to the schedule in the future, but we're still sticking out with Ghost of Tsushima. We're going to finish that game for sure, and you're still going to see me jump scaring myself every Friday night and doing a little bit of brawling on Mondays. So, if you want to check out future uploads of our podcast, our hub is at anchor.fm/player2 as enter the pod, and we always upload on Sundays. At the hub, you can check us out on other platforms such as Breaker, Google Podcast, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, Apple Podcast, and Spotify. And of course, you can also donate to the cause if you wish to help us continue doing, making the show that you love. Now, Apple Podcast is interesting. I was checking them out recently. They have a feature where you can actually rate the podcast. And we do have one rating. Someone gave us 5 stars. Thank you for that. I really do appreciate it.
Awesome.
Yeah. So if you have the Apple app, even if you don't prefer to listen to us through Apple, if you want to hop on there and give us a rating, it would really help us out, and we'd appreciate the feedback. And as far as feedback goes, of course, as always, you can email us at mcpaperstacks@gmail.com with any questions, suggestions, comments, feedbacks, concerns. And I have that local Facebook group that you can join if you wish, facebook.com/group/indiegamers. All right, that is our show. Thanks for everybody for tuning in. We will see you next week. Bye-bye.
See ya.